How's it going, everyone? I'm Aaron, and this is Seeking Media Productions giving you a video game review. So, I recently just got done playing Monster Hunter Wilds. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty much I consider myself a newcomer to the Monster Hunter, franchise. The last one that I got to play was Monster Hunter's World, which was literally the predecessor to this game. And from my point of view, both Monster Hunter Worlds and Monster Hunter Wilds provides a lot of the same joys that I would imagine anybody would get when playing these particular kinds of games. And to be honest with you, whenever I play the Monster Hunters games, I'm always filled with this concept of, wow, this would be such an interesting, or at least a worthwhile endeavor to look into for Game Freak when thinking about another video game franchise that actually still even probably a little bit more closer to our heart. Okay, so you haven't really guessed it, Pokemon. So Game Freak, Pokemon, you guys are out there. I know that everybody else has pretty much put it out there in the universe, but this is me really going ahead and drive the knife in a little bit. Y'all need to be looking into these games because this is pretty much the natural evolution to what you guys should be doing for that franchise. But be that as it may, this is a whole review dedicated to Monster Hunter's Wilds. Also, guys, just before we let go, I want you to remember we're pretty much getting closer and closer each time we can get there with our $1,000 subscription. So we still need a lot more help, and I know you guys like this channel just as much as me and Am love giving this content to you. So help us out. Talk to your friends, let them see this content. Share the word. We want to keep going, so help us out, please. Help us out. Now, if you are at least from my point of view. These games really aren't necessarily something that you jump into just because you're interested in story structure or stories at all when it comes to video games in general. Be that as it may, I do believe that at least for this title entry, that the team at Capcom that with this game and its director, Tokuda, I believe that in this particular case, they did put their best foot forward as far as trying to, engage their audience and the gamers in general with a little bit more in-depth, intuition into how this story was going to develop. In general, the story is pretty much basic. You, as a player, play with your customized variation of a Monster Hunter, tasked by the Monster Hunter Guild in order to figure out what exactly happened to the young boy that you come across on your journeys, who happens to be named Nata, and figure out what happened to him and his mysterious tribe of people that were attacked one stormy night. Thanks to this new threat that has arisen in this new place in the Monster Hunter world known as the Forbidden Wilds. Along your journey, you come across various other new creatures and civilizations that helps put together more pieces as to exactly what happened to Nana and his people and why this new threat, being known as the White Wraith, attacked them, and how is that very monster or creature is influenced all the new wildlife that you're actually come across, and how has that affected the people in the world in general. As far as like any particular aspects when it came to the story itself from Monster Hunter Wild, some aspects I did like about it was the exploration of unique cultures and people you got to meet along the way. I also did like certain characters you came across, like from the smithing village, or of course from However, I do believe one of the major aspects I feel as though that takes a big negative aspect on the story is that it's also pretty predictable. Again, these games were not necessarily put into mind for their story structure. It's pretty much second fiddle towards the main aspect or the draw, which is actually playing the game itself. So, character development stories like that really isn't. It's pretty much either lackluster or very generic. I did like the character of Nata, and you did feel for him being in a somewhat orphaned from the attack from the Great White Wave that you could take on in this journey, and it was kind of. I feel like one of the major interesting points they brought forth in the story was the unique concept of how the White Wave interacts with its people and how and where it in its desires, what made it do the things it do. But again, it was pretty much by the numbers. You knew where it was going, and there was hardly any real uh, interesting twist that kept you engaged in that front. Again, what was the main draw to this game was really just being in the Monster Hunter world and exploring and playing through that experience. As far as gameplay is concerned, again, I want to reiterate that Monster Hunter Wilds plays very much like you expected from Monster Hunter's Worlds. Be that in that situation, you play being able to play with a Monster Hunter, you have access to a wide variety of different kinds of weapons. Each one, in my opinion, are kind of like trick weapons or whatnot. But of course, you get the very standards. You have a great sword, bows and arrows, crossbows. They have various new weapons like a gun lance. And of course, for me and my particular purpose, I always go with my tried and true, the insect glaive, which is pretty much a giant spear-like and beetle or butterfly combined weapon that basically lets you go to town and jumping all over the place with special moves and whatnot. And along your journey, you're also able to increase the power on certain elements depending on how well you master the unique intricacies between each weapon. And of course, you're not always limited. You don't. It's not just a one-trick pony. You are able to use all varieties of weapons that are at your disposal. You also have your own unique personal guides that follows you around. In this case, the palico or these cat-like creatures that you're also able to customize along with yourself. They're basically your little helpers in both fighting and be able to utilize certain items and whatnot that you're able to use to either buff yourself and increase your attack power, your defenses. There's a unique, cool cooking mechanic. They also had this in the previous game, but I believe it was better, more fine-tuned in this version that makes it in the sense that you yourself as a hunter are able not just to be able to cook on the fly these roasted meats that you get collect off of various other monsters or creatures you encounter in the out in the world, but you're actually able to bring it back to either your camp or you use other pop-up camps that they also allow you to utilize to create these unique buffs through the food system of gathering certain ingredients that allows you to boost whatever your attack power or defenses and whatnot along your journey. Some of the main things I actually liked within Monster Hunter World is also the cool guidance system. Originally, it was dealing from the previous game was just the insects or the glow flies that you would sparkle there along your distance and guide you towards certain items or the creature of your particular hunting quest. But in this unique variation, or it's in this new entry, they also include the system of the sacred mechanic or your own personal mount that, again, you're also able to basically customize to your heart's content as far as coloring and certain items you're able to put on it. But I feel as though with this particular mechanic as a mount, it was awesome to be able to mount your own creature in this game. I'm a big fan when it comes to raptors or any kind of feathered reptile. However, I do believe that even though you're able to take off this particular aspect of it, being able to guide you straight towards your task or creature you're supposed to be following, it can become too much of a crutch in a sense that you rely upon it too heavily. I mean, you could literally just press on a certain button, and the sacred itself would literally, without you having to actually do anything, guide you and straight towards your intended target. Again, you can take this off, and that's awesome because I believe that if you didn't take this off, the game would be way too easy. And I feel as though that's actually probably one of the major complaints I do have about Monster Hunter World Wilds is that compared to World, this game is far more easier to play compared to that game. You do have certain monsters, especially towards the story, as you increase throughout the story, that do get harder and a little bit more in depth. But I don't believe it was ever a case in which, just like in Wilds, that I felt that I was throwing my controller on the ground or anything like that. That these things I was just to do multiple times and trying to attack them and defeat them. I was pretty much able to defeat a monster either the first time I encountered them, or definitely in my next or my second second go through. So I do feel as though that's a problem that I do have as far as gameplay is concerned. Another mechanic I do, they also have fishing elements that you're able to do, and I absolutely love that when a game actually incorporates something like certain aspects like that. Although it's far more easier compared to another game like Red Dead Redemption. And it's pretty hard to really come across anything that Red Dead Redemption hasn't done or better or hasn't done, in to greater amount towards other games. But it is what it is. Monster Hunter Wilds, in my opinion, definitely has enough aspects to it that definitely keeps you coming back for more. I feel as though some of my favorite aspects in playing this game comes from either customizing my own camp and also being able to explore and go after certain creatures. Definitely the apex monsters or apex predators that you come across in the story. They were really cool and be able to take them down, either capturing them or, of course, killing them and rooting through them, taking off whatever parts you need, be able to use those parts into either customize your weapons or customizing certain armors. And of course, the armor is always cool whenever you're able to take certain aspects and highlight them on yourself from the monsters that you take down. I do wish, however, especially when you look at the concept of capturing monsters, they would do a little bit more on that aspect, being able to really investigate these things and be able to go into depth on them, being able to see how they function within their own unique ecosystems and stuff like that, and do a little bit more in investigative, naturalistic approaches towards the seeing these creatures down. But as it is, it's still pretty enjoyable to go and interact with these creatures and take them down as it is. For the presentation of Monster Hunter Wilds, this game very much utilizes, just like previous entries in Capcom's vast catalog, is utilizing the RE engine, and it does work well here. When it comes to dialogue or anything like that, unfortunately, Monster Hunter Wilds or Monster Hunter really doesn't do that well as far as being able to sync well for dialogue and stuff like that, or facial structure or facial expressions when it comes to characters and how they emote themselves. But they do still bring his own dynamics and in a very unique artistic flair. Again, I will always take the artistic approach far better than anything that has to be photorealistic. It does not have to be photorealistic in order for me to feel as though the game looks beautiful. This game does look luscious and beautiful, especially some of the creature designs. They're incredible, and I absolutely felt as though this was one of those few games, especially when you take on certain monsters and certain missions. I feel as though this game does the concept of next gen to its own unique level. If to even understand that there's certain fights like I believe it was a frost-like dragon creature. I feel as though just fighting in that alone, or some of the other cool apex predators, they almost always felt almost cinematic to extent. And I have to applaud the team behind this game for making me feel that each time you was engaging some of these creatures, it felt epic. The music, especially for certain apex monsters, was always was pretty darn awesome. I feel as though it's definitely. I feel as though other games definitely do have their more artistic, elements as far as orchestral soundtracks or scores. But definitely, this game does not slouch in that direction. They definitely still have their own unique feel that almost immerse you in the same way that you would want any real high budget, game to be able to do. But again, I loved each of the biomes you were in. It almost always felt as if you were going throughout a true safari, either in the jungles, the deserts, the wetlands. It didn't matter. They almost all felt incredibly awesome to explore. I just wish there was even more of it. And I'm pretty sure they're going to come around here with even more expansions if the DLCs are to be believed. That Monster Hunter World definitely had its expansions, and it definitely always increased on the playability whenever you're going through it. So I'm game for going to be able to explore more with this world and with this game. With all that said, at the end of the day, I feel as though I definitely do see myself playing this game multiple times and exploring the vastness of the Forbidden Wilds. So, in all, I do find this to be a great experience out in playing Monster Hunter Wilds. There's definitely room for improvement. I feel as though if they pay attention to how they write stories for this game, or be able to make sure that they're not actually trying to make this game. I get you want to be able to make it accessible for anybody to be able to play, but definitely don't to the extent that it feels as though it's too easy. You don't want to do that. That takes away from the real challenge behind and the gratification you get from actually defeating certain things. But for all purposes, yeah, Monster Hunter Wild is a great time, and I definitely recommend picking this title up and playing it yourself. But like always, are you guys fans of the Monster Hunters community? Was this your first outing in the games, or were you a fan for the previous titles? Please comment below. Let me know. See where we can go with this. And like always, if you like this video and you want more content just like this, please hit that bell at the bottom for notifications. And that way we can always keep these conversations going. I'm Aaron. This is Community Productions, and I'll see y'all later.